This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, we are back here on Katz and Cosby and these horrible cases that have happened of late, including this Guatemalan migrant who lit a woman on fire, watched her engulfed in flames, burned to death, and there were bystanders who were around and did nothing. A lot of people are wondering, is there a Daniel Penny effect? Of course, the hero Marine, but people afraid to step in because he got dragged through and there's still a civil case going on with that. Well, who better to talk about all this than Daniel Penny's attorney, Thomas Kenniff. Thomas, we love having you here, and you did such a great job, first of all, with the Daniel Penny case. What is there a Daniel Penny effect where people are afraid to get dragged into cases now? Then there was the case in Grand Central, too, where two people got stabbed and a lot of bystanders. Are people afraid to step up and do the right thing like Daniel did?
Well, good evening, Rita. Good evening, guys. Always fun to join you. And I don't know what's going on in people's heads when they're seeing these horrific incidents. The people that are there witnessing them. But I guess my answer to the question is, why wouldn't there be? Well, why wouldn't there be a Daniel Penny effect? I mean, anyone who followed this case, and we know many people did, the case of my client over the last 19, 20 months, and saw the hell that this guy went through. I've been having this conversation with a lot of people who approach me, friends, family, strangers on the street since the verdict, and said, "Oh, your client must be so relieved. It must be wonderful for him." And of course, I mean, I can't overstate, how elated we were with the verdict, but that just doesn't go away. I mean, living under the weight of a felony indictment, the anxiety that, if this doesn't go right, that you could wind up in state prison, that takes a mental, emotional, physical toll on any human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Ed Cox.
And then there's a civil suit going forward also. So it just doesn't quit. Isn't that right?
It just doesn't quit. And of course, the consequences of a civil suit are much different than a criminal prosecution because you're not talking about jail anymore. But it's still there. And the other thing is, a lot of people talked about, have mentioned the legal defense fund, which we set up for Danny, which was of course so successful, in part because of folks like you who helped us get the message out. And
how much was raised, by the way, in that defense fund?
Yeah, about $3.4 million.
Awesome! Wow, bravo!
And, it's great, but I make the point to people. I mean, look, a lot of people are congratulating myself and Stephen Razor and our team for the great legal work we did, and we're very humbled by that. But I'll tell everyone listening that the best lawyers in the world can only do so much without resources, and because we had that legal fund, we were able to do all sorts of things that an average person who you mentioned the bystander effect, someone who intervenes in one of these situations, they have no guarantee that they're going to have a successful fundraising effort like Danny did, not only to hire Steve Razor and I, but the jury consultants we used, the security team to get us in and out of court, because every day we were being, harassed by BLM protesters and George Soros gig workers outside the courthouse, the hotel rooms, the expert witnesses. That was not a given when this case started. In fact, it wasn't even, we didn't even see that as a possibility when we first took this case on. So those things that all made us very fortunate, in defending this case, and made my client very fortunate in having that. Where obviously he's utterly grateful, but what does the average person that doesn't have a legal defense fund do if they go in and intervene and they find themselves, persecuted by Alvin Bragg's office or some other progressive prosecutor? So, of course, it's going to have a deterrent effect on people wanting to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Governor Patterson.
Thomas, how are you?
Governor, great. I've been telling everyone about the wonderful phone call you and I had last week, and what an absolute gentleman you are.
Well,
his head is going to explode if you say that,
well,
Thomas.
I knew he was a gentleman when I realized we both graduated from Hofstra Law School. But the thing is, I want to ask you about this. I think these particular situations are they're hard to judge one way or the other. With Daniel Penny, I think that he at least knew that he had a certain amount of training. He kind of assessed that more people on the train would help him when he tried to stop the perpetrator. And it was a good decision on his part for why he got in there. But I would say that the average person, with some of the things that you're confronted with, are going to kind of back away. Now, I know that they started a fire, but we weren't there. It's hard to tell if you could, to what extent the fire had gotten before it overtook the victim. And all I'm trying to say is I think we're kind of hard on our fellow New Yorkers. There's a big taxi accident on Christmas Day, and 6 people went to the hospital. But the pictures showed that all the pedestrians jumped in, and about 4 of them moved the cab somehow to get the victims out.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I'm not at all saying that because of what my client went through that there's not going to be, any more Good Samaritans out there, right? And one of the points I made in speaking about Danny and people like him is, look, they're a special breed, right? And they don't balance the equities, right? They're going in, they're going to help, and to hell with the consequence. You certainly can't expect that from everyone, and every situation is different, right? So, we see the video, which really, you can't even watch it because it's just so horrific. We don't know what opportunity anyone on that specific train in that specific instance had to intervene. And then, even the police officers, some people are starting to, throw them under the bus because you see that police officer who walked by. But, look, and this is my area of expertise, maybe you need someone with a background with the fire department.
And by the way, also, like some people didn't even know, like at first, if it was a person on fire too,
right.
It's so horrific, you don't know.
The heat that they're giving off, the police officer, it may be very hard to get even close to someone. I'm not sure what they could have done without the proper tools at that point to try to rescue. I think that
we needed a Daniel Penny at that moment. That's what everybody needs.
Penny with some flame retardant chemicals and what have you, but just an awful situation. So case specifically, I don't no one can say for sure whether that is the quote unquote Danny Penny or Kitty Genovese effect. But I think in a general standpoint, to go back to the question that you started with, Rita, is, those marginal situations where you have someone who might otherwise have gotten involved, I think that it's going to be in the back of their mind or somewhere in their head that, look, I don't know that I'm going to do something here because I don't know how it's going to end up for me.
Yeah, and then what a sad thing. Before we let you go, how is Daniel doing? How's he handling everything? I'm telling you, what a hero. I'm so happy you said how much also the public came to support him.
Oh, it just made all the difference because, again, we were just able to do things. I'd like to think that we'd have a successful outcome either way, but, it certainly made our job a lot easier. He's doing well. I think it's an adjustment because he went from being anonymous to then when this case occurred, be a large contingent, sadly, even people in elected office trying to vilify him. To throughout the trial. And then when the verdict came down, then he went to almost like instant celebrity status, not a celebrity he's looking for. He's very humble. He does not he's not comfortable being called a hero. He doesn't look at himself that way. But just adjusting to being, so recognizable and so ubiquitous now, it's a life change. But I think he's settling into it and starting to take it a little bit more day to day and in stride.
Well, give him our best and great job again, Tom. You and Steve did an amazing job, and the world was watching. Justice served. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Happy New Year, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you.
Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores. Making the switch is easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift.